David says, and the subject line here was AI companions and advertising. Ben and Andrew, I love the show, and I had some thoughts about your discussion of AIs as personal companions. Specifically, I think that having a high trust tool like that is at odds with advertising as a business model. On one level, many people get upset with seeing ads that are targeted at their personal troubles, like seeing ads for a divorce lawyer after they ask an AI for marriage advice. But on an even deeper level, the
I mean, also
advertising.
could be useful. But
I
anyhow,
know.
continue.
I don't know if I'd be mad at that in that spot. But on an even deeper level, the advertising incentive means that now we have to wonder if the AI actually has our best interests at heart with its answers. Am I seeing divorce lawyer ads or getting divorce advice because that pays better than marriage counselor ads? And while these examples may be relatively few, once you're thinking about this concern for one question, you'll be thinking about it for every other question, and that erodes the trust you need to be a truly useful companion. I don't really care if Instagram is showing me posts that advance its economic interests, but I will worry a lot if I think my AI tool is tailoring its answers toward an economic incentive. Ben, what do you think?
No, I agree. This is a massive challenge, and it's part of the reason why it's not super clear what an advertising model should look like for these sorts of things. And the tension here is the reality that you only become a large consumer player via an advertising model because you get this dynamic of you can continually raise prices without having being concerned about price elasticity because the users are going to use it no matter what because it's always the same price for them. That's just how the economics work here. But pushing against it is exactly this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to the extent that that Sam Altman and OpenAI are authentic about not wanting advertising, this is a big part of the reason. It's not just that it's grubby and nasty. It's that do we lose something ineffable about people's willingness to use this? And it's contrasted by the fact I have a friend that has plenty of money, and he's like, "Can you generate the Studio Ghibli picture for me?" I'm like, "You do it." He's like, "No, that's $20 a month," right? Like, there's so it's a it's a very valid concern and point. It will be hard to manage, and it's going to run up against this reality of advertise. There's a reason advertising ends up winning everywhere, and someone's going to do advertising, and that's going to be who you're competing with. And are you going to have sufficient agency to say, no, it's worth it to me to pay because that's trustworthy, end of line? It kind of ties to the Apple discussion, right?
Mm.
The reason people trust Apple, I would contend, is not because of their pronouncements about privacy or some commercials they run. It's they sort of implicitly get that Apple's aligned with me and my interests. They sell an expensive device. I get it. It's going to be what I want. And I
Yeah.
actually think Apple's been moving against this by virtue of doing things I don't necessarily want as a user and not investing in having the best possible product, right? Like this would be suppose ChatGPT did do advertising and Apple started training on user data, but provided an AI that came with my phone that did not have advertising. I think they're in a great position in that
Mm-hmm.
regard. And it feels more privacy preserving and more respectful of me than an alternative where actually their AI just sucks, so I don't use it. And I'm like, what am I paying for when I give you $1,000 for a phone?
Yeah. I mean, as far as OpenAI, isn't this only a challenge if they're counting on creating like an emotional bond with the users? Because
But
it
it kind of
doesn't
feels like they're
feel
trying
like
to
a
do that.
portrayal. Yeah, well, that's true, particularly when you look at how obsequious the new model is. But I really can only imagine myself balking at ads from an AI if I have become like hopelessly down the rabbit hole. If I'm like hopelessly down the rabbit hole, emotionally bonded with that chatbot. But
Well,
beyond that, like I'm an adult.
you go back to early Google, and this was a huge concern there as well. Like people aren't going to trust the search results, and so you start out, and it's super clear what's an ad, and they're like a different color, and they're made like, this is definitely an ad, and yeah, we got to make some money. Our users will get it, and users did get it. Then over time, you can barely tell it's an ad anymore.
Hmm.
And I think that we
It
think
can
about
tip too
advertising.
far for sure.
It can.
Yeah.
Well, when we think about advertising as it exists today, and layer that onto ChatGPT, what I'm calling for is like punch the monkey ads. Like let's be super clear. Like, yeah, you're a free user, so there's ads there that are next to it, but all these concerns are real and very valid, and it's going to be a very difficult road to walk. I just think the walking the road's inevitable, given the opportunity in front of OpenAI. But we'll see. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll be wrong.
Okay. Well, as far as monetization, I just wanted to read this tweet from a woman named Rachel Cohen on Twitter. We got heavily discounted Ubers in the 2010s. Gen Z is getting massively subsidized AI chatbots. I read that last week and I wondered, all right, are we going to have a situation where all of society becomes dependent on AI chatbots and it's going to become really, really expensive early in the next decade? Do you have any take there?
No, it's a good take. In the Uber one, what's interesting about that is you could, on one hand, say, "Yep," and they still use Uber today, even though they're paying like 5x what they
That's what I
were sort
mean.
of previously.
As a millennial who got addicted to Uber and DoorDash and any number of other like VC funded apps in the mid 2010s, I'm still using all those apps, and so they could pull that playbook again.
Right, but the counterpoint is you also still own a car, right?
Hmm.
The talk of Uber was it's going to actually replace car ownership, because you're just going to use an Uber all the time, and it's going to change cities and all they're organized and all these sorts of things. And now those dreams have been shifted to self-driving cars, and that's how it's going to actually pull it off and do these. But there is a cost to cost. Like, it's not used as much as it would be otherwise. And
Mm,
and I think that's the advertising reality. There is price elasticity in everything. If something is more expensive, it is used less. And now it might be so good that most people are willing to pay it, but not everyone is. And that's why advertising always wins in the end,
there you
because
go.
it's
Yeah.
always free for the user, and yet you can still make more. You can increase your average revenue per user over time because you get better at targeting. You're so effective that advertisers are willing to pay.
So if ChatGPT wants a billion users or 2 billion users or 3 billion users in the next decade, 3 billion people aren't going to pay to be using ChatGPT every day. And so you're trying to widen the funnel that way by
That's right.
keeping it
Yeah,
free. Yeah.
just your upside with advertising is just astronomically larger than it is with subscriptions. Because of this dynamic, and
Yep.
that's exactly what I was talking about before. You have this real tension between, does advertising really make sense with this model, versus advertising is the only way to become a 3 billion user company that
Hmm.
is growing revenue continuously over time.